with all our handicappers from the Pick Dogs roster. As you can see here, we'll have a full show for you. We'll get all of our handicappers on in just a second. Want to let you know you can listen to us over on the Pick Dogs YouTube channel or Sports Chat Place. Either one, to be sure to subscribe. And of course, joining me today, as always, on this Tuesday, will be Dana Lane as my co-host for today's show. Dana, how are you doing today?
Doing good. It's 80 degrees in Vegas, and it's only a little less smoky from the fires in California, so things are looking up.
Well, absolutely. I just wanted to get your thoughts here, Dana, on this game going off here with Miami and Milwaukee. We'll lead off with this because there's been some news here with Giannis out for this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely huge. I mean, I wasn't involved in that just because I'm, even if he does play, I'm not sure, exactly if he's going to be 100% or what percentage he's going to be at, but I mean, this is look, it's pretty simple at this point, isn't it? That Miami wins this series. I mean, I hate to go with the obvious, but, not only is Miami a better team, I think, with Giannis on the court, they're certainly better with him off the court. And it's all going to be in the first quarter. We've been saying this the whole series. Is Miami going to do what Spoelstra loves to do? Is his shooters going to come out and set the tone from the perimeter for the rest of the game? And if they do that, it's lights out for Milwaukee.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it can be that for this Milwaukee team. And, I just think if you're from a betting perspective, I just think, you should have bet this earlier. If you like Miami, there's no way you can play it at 4.5. It was 2 earlier. And if you see Giannis in the cash, you should have known he was going to sit out this game.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing that came out. I mean, this is why we talk about how important it is to watch your press conference and kind of get involved, maybe even local. And one of my favorite things to do is listen to local radio broadcasts, and they really have the insight. And of course, I know, some guys across the country that are beat writers, which really give you, an idea of what it is and what isn't going to happen. But there was nothing indicating that Giannis was going to play in this game. So, Miami went from 3 to 4.5, back down to 4 a little bit. But unless George Hill is going to be above and beyond what he actually is again, I just don't think Milwaukee has a chance in this series. But he did come in and play 37 minutes in the last game, scored 12 points, was good on both ends. But he's not a guy who's used to playing 37 minutes. So when you have a star like Giannis out, you're asking everybody else to be better than they usually have to be.
Absolutely, and I want to get your thoughts here on the game we saw yesterday with that with the Raptors and Celtics. Again, we see it again here with Toronto just struggling to get to season average, held to very low points once again.
Well, I mean, Jaylen Brown was 2 separate players from game 4 to 5. In game 4, he was horrific from the field. He was a -14, which I love that statistic. Game 5, he was 10 for 18. He was a +19. It was a completely different player, and I think they go as far as he goes. He had a monster dunk in that second quarter that gave the Celtics a 13-point lead. I think he completely set the tone for what that game was going to be. And from that point on, Boston outscored them by 9. They put this game away safely and early. They had a 48-32 advantage in the paint. That just tells me that teams are moving the ball well and are more aggressive down low, which Boston was each.
I look at that Clipper game. It was really tough to lay points with the Clippers. They don't play their best for the first 40 minutes. Then they outscored Denver by 13 in the final 8 minutes of the game. Win by 6, they win, but they don't cover. You relate the number.
Well, unlike game 2, the Clippers were on fire early. They, 33-point first quarter. They still gave up 32. They still gave up 32 in that quarter, which they've given up 75 in the first quarter over the last 2. But this is an important example why it is this is important to make sure that you're watching these games and understanding what you're seeing, because LA outscored Denver over the final 3 quarters in game 2, even though the final score would indicate that, Denver was the better of the 2 teams. But if you watch the final 3 quarters, there was no way you were walking out of that game and thinking, the Clippers are, they were really in trouble here. They weren't in trouble. They just had a bad quarter, and the Clippers thoroughly dominated them. In fact, they outscored them in every quarter from that point on. You knew that the Clippers weren't going to shoot 69% from the free throw line again. They held a 20-8 advantage from the line. That was the difference in this game. And if the Clippers, who are not used to scoring 107 points, if they're even close to their average, or 113 points even, they're usually up in that 120 range. So I think they can even play better than they did against Denver.
All right, this is a drive-through This is a drive-through Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of free picks coming here throughout the show as we bring on the Pick Dog Handicappers. And now it's time to bring in one of our guests, our first guest to open up the show. It's Alex Smart. You'll find him over at Pick Dog. As a matter of fact, nearly Alex, over 1,000 units of profit. Alex, how you doing? And having a pretty good year this year.
Yeah, it's not bad, and hopefully it just keeps moving up from here. Well, knock on wood on that one. We don't want to jinx ourselves.
Absolutely. How are the NBA playoffs treating you?
Pretty good. They're like Dana said. I mean, you've got to watch really closely here. You've got to have your eye on the screen, for a good portion of the day, just to make sure you know who's going to be in the lineup. And sometimes you have to pull the trigger a lot later, and sometimes you pull the trigger too early. As in, for example, if somebody was on Milwaukee today, they may not feel so great about their bet right now. So we'll see what value ends up with this before game time, though.
I mean, that just tells you the value of doing your homework and checking that injury report, because if you saw Giannis, you probably knew there was a good chance he wasn't going to play. And as you, as a professional handicapper, if you're looking at that Miami side, you got to play that early.
Well, that's what I was looking at today, and I couldn't do it. And I think Miami has shown themselves to be the better team here. But what keeps on ringing in the back of my head, sort of that Donich situation where he rolled his ankle one day, he's in the lineup the next day, and he's like putting record amount of points on the board, playing an amazing MVP style of basketball. So it's always like it sits there with you sometimes. So we're in a psychological game here, psychological warfare here, trying to figure out the lines in this bubble.
All right, we're going to take a look at Alex, and today on the show, you're going to take a look at this Lakers and Houston game. It did open up Lakers 5.5. It was sitting at 5 a lot, but we've seen some money here this afternoon come on the Rockets. LA laying 4.5. Total sits here at 222. And of course, I'm always nervous giving the Rockets, over a possession because of their ability to shoot the basketball. And of course, the Lakers, everything went for them in game 2. 57% from the field, 12 of 27 from 3. And if they don't shoot, it can be difficult for them to cover this number. But how do you see this one?
Well, you know what? From the outset of this whole series, I was one of the guys that said I think Houston's the better team here, and I took a lot of flack from some of my friends, and I said, how can you say that? Look, this is the way I look at it. Harden is, for me, one of the best ball players in the game, and I mean it's obviously everybody. Obviously, LeBron's great, but he's on the downside of his career, and Anthony Davis has never won anything before. And I know he's playing hard, and he's playing real hard. But, I don't know if that's enough. And I just don't like the way Westbrook looks at all. At all. And here we are. I mean, an amazing game last time by the Lakers, shooting-wise. But there's going to be a regression here, in my opinion. And getting points with Houston, to me, is a no-brainer. Anyway, right now it is. And also, I'm willing to even sprinkle a little bit of money on the money line. We're going to take, plus 180 into this, too. So.
All right, Alex Smart really going heavy here, looking at the money line and the Rockets plus the points. Dana, looking at that Game 2 performance, LA had built up that lead, but then you look at the fourth quarter, and the Rockets are up by a couple of points.
Yeah, I mean, and this was a Lakers team, like Alex said, it shot like 57% from the field in Game 2. I mean, are we anticipating them doing that again in Game 3? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I'm usually anticipate even the best teams in that 45 range. So you could kind of knock that off their score as well. I mean, it was their third best shooting night of the season. So do I anticipate the Lakers being able to do that again? No, absolutely not. This is a pivotal game, at least historically, for the Rockets, because when they've won Game 3 in a series, in a playoff series, they're a perfect 7-0 in that series. So this is, at least from a historical standpoint, a big game from the Rockets. But, I'm with Alex. I will say this. I mean, LeBron James seems to be taking a lot more charge than he has in the bubble. I mean, I've watched almost every Laker game, and he's really filling the lane. He is out in transition quick. I mean, there was some points where I kind of felt like, that time when Kobe says, "Fine, you don't want me to shoot. I'll just be a guy that's going to give the ball up and distribute it." And that's kind of how I felt about LeBron. There has been some probably games that I would categorize as lethargic in the bubble, but this does not seem, at least in game 2, it didn't seem to be the way he was playing. He certainly was taking charge, but you're going to give me 4.5 points. I not only agree with Alex on the points, although I won't be involved, but I also agree with him on the money line too. And there is a ton of money, at least the majority of tickets are being written on the Lakers money line right now. So we know how Vegas was built.
Absolutely, we certainly do. And of course, Alex, when you look at the construction of this team now post All-Star break, when they went with this small ball, something that you obviously have to be concerned is the possessions. Houston gives up a lot of possessions on the glass. They're not a really good rebounding team. And, sometimes you go into this handicap and thinking, okay, we're going to lose a rebounding battle by 5-6 boards. But if it gets in double digits, then do you feel a little nervous?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll admit to something, I try not to watch too many of these games, like, from start to finish. I'll tune in from time to time, and I'll be the ESPN guy in the morning, because I find it's just too much information for my head to log at any one time, and they all sort of join together. And I've made these mistakes earlier on in this lifestyle I've chosen, and people sort of laugh. They say, "Well, you don't watch a game, so how do you know?" Well, I mean, hey, the numbers don't never lie, and you can just get a feel for a game just by watching a recap.
Yeah,
you can really do it.
And the thing is, if you have streaming services, I've watched the replays of the games today. I mean, NBA TV, or if you have the Streamcast, a lot of the streamings will show you, and I like it because they'll show you a 1 hour recap of the broadcast of the entire game, cutting out a lot of the nonsense. So there's a lot of information you get during the day.
Yeah, exactly. I just look at myself like a biological computer. You don't want to overload your computer. I want to get into my 60s and 70s and still be a little bit apprehensive about stuff, aware, and too much information sometimes sort of, just clogs you up. So, keep it simple, stupid is my theory. Yeah.
So Dana, are you obviously you can't watch everything. It's impossible to do that. But you do like to do a little recaps. With the streaming, you can get the streaming recaps now online. How much of that do you take into account, or times you sit down and watch the game from start to finish?
Listen, it is, I'm the opposite of Alex, and that means I'm going to probably have about 5 good years left of my life, because I'm so OCD about, did I do enough? Did I prep enough? Did I watch enough? And sometimes you try to condense it down into, okay, these are the keys to the game. Like, for instance, I wanted to see fast break points. Well, the last game, the Lakers clearly had the example, or had the advantage in fast break points against Houston. And that I like to see a team win that battle, because that tells me a lot about, Houston's ability to stop them off a transition, pace of play, which also goes into whether or not I want to get involved in the total. And so I do have to, look, Tony, I can't watch BYU Navy, NBA playoffs. I can't watch the Golden Knights tonight, or I couldn't watch the Islanders tomorrow. That you do have to pick and choose, but I just want to make sure that I know, on the back end too. And this really is my issue, because I'd rather be like guys that, go through and kind of pick out, what they're looking for, because to me that they're the smarter of the two. I'm always the guy that's got to study, because I'm not smart enough to be able to 30 minutes and really just pick things out of the air what I'm looking for. So, it's I wish I could do that, and really, I don't know if what I do is better or anybody else, but it's whatever works for you. And ultimately, like Alex said, the numbers don't lie. And if he's winning this way, well, I'm pretty envious. And I will add one thing to that too, Alex. I remember the old Stardust, and I'm sure you've been in the Stardust many times. And one day you walked into the Stardust, and there's a little room off to the left-hand side. And in that room was all these computer pages that were printed out of information. And I remember as a novice bettor, coming to town in '93 thinking to myself, well, why would you give the bettor all this information? Well, the reason why you give them that information is to overload them, because just because you have information doesn't mean you know what to pick from and what to choose from and what to apply to your wager. So they give you everything to further confuse you. So to your Alex, you probably do it way better than I do, because you're just looking for certain things. You get it or you don't, and then you make your opinion. Me, I'm a freaking mess for 24 hours a day, and crossing my fingers I make the right choice.
Well, I don't think you're making a mistake, Dana. I've got some good friends who strictly do baseball, imagine, and from inning 1 till the end of the game, even extra innings, they've got 6 games, 8 games, 10 games up on a night. And they look at the replays and they look at everything, and they do very well for themselves. So, it's just what I do. And, there's been success. So.
I will also say this, Alex, because I think this is interesting to bettors that are watching us. It is really important, especially if you're into these sports. Like I'm heavy in the baseball right now, and that's an everyday thing. It is really important to say, you know what, today I'm going to step back for a second, because you do have to exhale. Because if you don't exhale, then it completely takes away from your mental strength on a daily basis. And when you feel yourself, like today, I kind of felt myself getting to a point. I said, okay, that's fine. I'm going to put one game up that I really like today, and then I'm going to come back hard tomorrow after I've allowed myself to a little bit and look at the schedule and kind of get refocused and start the process back over again.
I think we all, like they always say, everybody is different. And, success is the bottom line and profits are the bottom line. It doesn't matter how we get there, I guess. And what's the old saying? It's not the road, it's the journey, or it's the journey, not the road, right? Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Alex Smart joined us here on the drive-thru with Dana Lane. A lot more picks coming up here on the show. First pick in already with the Houston Rockets, courtesy of Alex Smart. He also sprinkled some on the money line, he suggested in this one. Alex, what do you have going on at Pick Dogs? A lot of action tonight everywhere.
We've got a couple of NBA totals and on both events this evening, and we've got a triple play of Major League Baseball, and that's it for today.
All right, check out Alex Smart. If you check his numbers up there, over 1,000 units of profit over at Pick Dogs. Pick up a package from Alex. Alex, as always, great having you on your show. Have a great week. We'll talk to you in a couple days.
See you, gentlemen. Take care.
See you, Alex.
All right, that was Alex Smart back here with Dana Lane. Dana, I wanted to take a look here at NFL. We're into week 1. I know you said you were going to sit out week 1, but I thought this game was really intriguing here. And this one is obviously an NFC matchup here between the Packers and Vikings. We saw it open 3.5. Minnesota now laying 2.5. And, of course, Minnesota lost both the regular season games to the Packers, so you know that's not going to sit well with Mike Zimmer as he prepares for this. But the last time we saw the Packers on the field, the 49ers ran the football down their throat.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, I have to be honest with you, man. I got into Houston and Kansas City last night. I'm getting into the Raiders game because I'm getting asked a lot about that, obviously, with them starting Vegas right now. But I'm just at the point right now where I'm starting to get into the week. And what I'm doing this week, Tony, is kind of what I brought up with Alex. I'm making bullet points that I want to see out of each team. And I want to see which one of those bullet points are accurate and which ones are not. But I will say this, without the benefit of preseason, and again, you got to know what you're looking for. You have to, it's not much you can take out of fourth quarter, week 1 through 3 in preseason. But that's where I'm kind of at right now. And I'm compelled to use week 1 as kind of my tool to go forward into the season. So have I looked at Green Bay, Minnesota in depth? I really haven't. I feel like I would be doing a disservice in talking about it.
Yeah, this should be a pretty good match. This is one of the matchups that really stuck out to me here. I mean, Dalvin Cook with the football, and of course Adam Thielen, and now Justin Jefferson, their first-round pick. The Vikings are strong and tight, and I think the Minnesota at -2.5 is a good play in week number 1 from 3.5 to 2.5. Although I did see a 3 pop up, so I think they're going to gobble up that 2.5 on the Minnesota side. All right, this is a drive-through daily 6 p.m. Eastern time here on the Pick Dogs and the Sports Chat Place YouTube channel. We'll continue with the picks, guys. Bunch of picks coming up for you right now, and let's welcome the show. You'll listen to them every morning here on these YouTube channels. That's Rod ZAWACKY on the morning show with Mitch and crew. Rod, how you doing this afternoon, evening?
Trying to stay warm. Chilly here today, but other than that, it's a good, nice day.
Yeah, pretty nice day. A little chilly, a little freezing temperatures where you're at.
Oh yeah, a little -2 this morning. I woke up to. You have to scrape the car if you wanted to go anywhere.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Just out here where Dana's in Vegas, I'm in SoCal. We're in triple digits, so well, it's pretty warm now. Ron, you were pretty good with that play yesterday with the Islanders.
Yeah, the Islanders were definitely looked a little bit tired, and Tampa just looks that good. Like I don't know what the Islanders are going to do to come back to combat that in game number 2, but we definitely seen the Tampa offense wake up and pop in a lot of goals. Holy, doubled the total on that one.
Dana, what'd you take from that game 1 between Islanders and Tampa?
Well, look, the Islanders came out. They were gassed. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I mean, the Flyers, I thought, were a team that would be able to contend for the Stanley Cup, and I thought the Islanders would just kind of play back on their heels. And as soon as Tampa Bay got that first goal, I remember seeing that come across the ticker, and I'm like, that's the kiss of death for the Islanders, because their game is when they get ahead. They're able to squeeze you at the blue line and not give you any room. And not one Islander defenseman was a plus yesterday, so that tells you a lot. Barzell and Bolivier were a -2. There was 1 assist between the two, and those are just numbers that the Islanders can't have to find success. Now, game 2 is going to be an accurate representation of what I think the Islanders are. And if they do not come out and play well, I mean, this series is basically over. So you look at it like this. Professional coaches will look at game 1 and they'll say, okay, this is where our shortcomings are. This is what we need to improve on, whether it's fatigue or just game plan or strategy or whatever, whether they're going to be a team that's going to carry the puck into the offensive zone or just dump and chase. That's going to be an adjustment from game 1 to game 2. Well, if the coaches make an adjustment and that still doesn't work, that leaves you with nothing other than big rah-rah speeches that we got to get going. That's not a lot. So this is a critical game. Game 2, to me, is the most important game of any playoff series.
All right, here on the drive-thru, you listen to us and watch us Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. More picks coming. We did see a little movement here on the total from 5 to 5.5. Is this kind of a reaction we saw in game 1 with, 10 goals? We'll go to Rod.
Yeah, exactly right. They're going to make it go up to 5.5. But if the Islanders have any chance in this series, I think they got to score goals, and that's why they moved it up to 5.5. And if you look historically, if you go back at these meetings head to head, anytime the Islanders have won, they've won like 5-2. They've been over that number. Lots of times that they'll score 5 goals to beat Tampa. You have to score that many to beat them every night. I'm going to say you're going to score at least 3 or 4.
All right, Rod, I know today you're going to come in and look at game 2 between Dallas and Vegas. Dallas sitting with the 1-0 lead in this game at 8 Eastern time. We're seeing Vegas here favored about $1.50 in a lot of places. Goal total sits at 5.5.
For me in this game here tonight, we've seen it in game 1. Dallas came out. They've got the heart and they've got the drive and the grit. They're playing good, tough, gritty hockey. And what we've seen from the Knights these last few games is their offense has went dry. They're just not putting the puck in the net, and if they can't do that tonight, if there's no change, it's going to be a quick series for this one if Vegas doesn't bounce back here tonight. So for my selection here, I'm gonna stick with Dallas. Dallas last game, they took the puck away 18 times, 18-7 against these Knights. And I think they can do it again. They're winning the pucks in the corner and taking the puck away. So until I can see Vegas actually do something better, I'm going to stick with Dallas here. Take Dallas.
Right. So ZAWACKY goes with Dallas, the underdog choice. What say you, Dana?
Well, I agree with him. I wrote that this morning in the Review Journal that until I see something different, until I know that Reeves is coming back for this game after being suspended for 1 game, and I mean, he certainly is part of a giant part of the soul of that team. So I think from a physical standpoint, we're definitely going to see a different game. But look, what was the statistic in that Dallas didn't miss the net or something like that until the end, that was Tampa's statistic, but it really does hold true in this case as well. I mean, Vegas has had opportunities, even in the previous game previous series against Vancouver. I mean, a lot of the shots that were taken wouldn't even come close to the net. It would be, wide left, wide right. I put it as simplistic as you did. They're simply not scoring goals. And when you have the third line, when you have Tuck and Stastny and Nicholas Roy, I mean, when you have your third line that is producing more than the Marchessault and Carlson and Riley line, man, you've got some problems. And until they can get back to Vegas hockey, where even if they do control the pace of play, and we saw that in Vancouver, where they were the Corsi percentage leader in that series by a wide margin, but it still went to 7 games because even when you get into the offensive zone, which counts on your Corsi, if you don't create scoring opportunities, if you don't get dirty goals in front, if you don't do the work to position yourself to get dirty goals in front, then you got no chance of scoring once you get into the offensive zone, no matter how easy it is to go through the neutral zone, which it was not against Dallas. And if they are not able to free up the neutral zone, then they're in big trouble.
All right, our drive through here. I'm Tony T with Dane Lane and Rod ZAWACKY coming in with the underdog Dallas Stars in this one in Game 2, 8 Eastern time to start. Rod, why don't you tell us what you got going over at Pig Dogs? I know you're having a pretty good NBA year.
Yeah, I got going tonight. I didn't touch the Laker game, but I look at it now and I would lean to the Lakers. But tonight I got going. I got what's left. A bunch of games went off already. I got 3 MLB. And the one selection in tonight's hockey, which I've given you here, Dallas. So I still got 3 MLB in a package for $24.99 you can pick up. And we're starting to heat up in MLB.
All right, very good, Alex. All right, had Alex on with an underdog selection with Houston, and Rod comes in with Dallas. All right, Rod, is always great having you show. We'll be listening to you tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time on the morning show with Mitch and company.
You and Tony and Dana, have yourselves a wonderful evening, and everybody watching.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, Rod. All right, back here on the drive-thru, we got to get to Dana's pick here because you did pick the Yankee game, which goes off in about 10 minutes. The Yankees and the Blue Jays. Yeah. Yankees a little bit of trouble. What do you got for us?
Well, it worked out okay yesterday. I wanted to give out Toronto as well, and Joe came through with that selection, and instead we went over to Houston and got $1.80 minus 1.5. So it worked out okay. But, the joke is, if you've been reading the papers, that Toronto's the best team in New York right now, and certainly they have earned that credibility for sure. It's hard to argue after they put up a 10 spot yesterday. And, we talked about on the show how, Toronto in the second half, that's 6, 7, 8, 9 innings, I mean, they're as good as there is in baseball, and they certainly proved that yesterday. Taijuan Walker gets his third start since coming over from Seattle. Jay Happ, a former Blue Jay, gets a start for the Yankees. But, Toronto has done all of this without Bo Bichette, who's has a knee injury. He's at the alternative site right now. He's not even in the lineup. I mean, this is the Blue Jay team that come a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, we might find them as somebody that we talk about quite a bit because of that lineup. And even with the addition of Walker, perhaps with the addition of him, that's going to make their staff even that much stronger. And really, this Jays pitching staff only has to be around 3.5, 4 ERA for them to be successful with the lineup that they have. But the other thing that I want to point out too with Walker is this is his contract year. He's making $2 million a year right now. He was making at $1.5 million with Arizona. So there's nothing more than I like to back than a pitcher that's in a contract year, which Walker is. So I'm going to go right back to the well again today. I'm going to take Toronto, and we're going to lay the 1.5, and we're going to get the $1.60 plus money on that selection.
All right, Dana Lane here coming on the run line with the Toronto Blue Jays, getting some plus money in that one. Hey, Dana, I want to let everybody know what you got going on over at Pig Dogs. I know number 1 in baseball this year.
Yeah, it's been a fan year, over 2,000 units in baseball, number one, and we're hoping to make sure that we finish off the season number one. And, it's not going to be one of these situations where we kind of go ahead and hide just because we're on top of the heap for now. It's every single day we're going to put out plays. And at the end of the year, I promised you guys that we would make up for lost time, and that's exactly what we've been doing. I do have only one play up today. It's the Baltimore against the Mets. That's up right now. That game starts at 4:10 Pacific time, so make sure you get involved in that. But it's been a great year, Tony, and hopefully we can finish this thing up, but I feel very strong about tonight's selection.
All right, check out Dana Lane over at Pick Dog. Get that selection from him right now. Number one documented over at Pick Dogs. All right, continuing here on the show, joined here with Dana Lane as we'll take a look here at, we'll look at one of the games from Major League Baseball here that will start. I want to get your thoughts here on this game, too. I looked at the line on it. I just was shaking my head. I couldn't understand why Vincent Velasquez is favored by as much as he is in game two in this one between Boston and Philadelphia. Right now, I'll give you an update. It's Boston 5-4 with a comeback, top of the seventh. That's a 7-inning game. I saw Mazza and Velasquez. I'm seeing Velasquez minus 167. He lost his job. Went to the bullpen. Now they're bringing him up here for a start in game two of a doubleheader against Mazza. But Velasquez's numbers have just been terrible this year.
They really have, and honestly, I'll take the plus 1.5 because I'm not all that excited about being of the Red Sox, and you only have to give up $1.35, $1.36 in this. But, he started the season as a starter. He struggled. He was sent to the pen. He's got an ERA close to 7 in the 5 appearances. And even you could say, okay, well, what does he do against the Red Sox? Well, he's 1-0, but his ERA is still 6.5 against the Red Sox. So that means he had a good game. He got the W, but the rest of the time, he gives up a ton of runs, and he's been involved in high scoring affairs, which is why his ERA is good, but is high, but he doesn't have any losses. And as far as Martin Perez is concerned, his numbers aren't great either, but he did toss 6 innings of no hit ball for the Sox in his last outing against Toronto. So, for me, when we're looking at the pitching matchup, there's no reason why, Perez isn't the better of the two options. So I'm not in a position where I'm going to, just go full out with Boston. I like to get that 1.5 if I'm getting a short price, which I am here, but that's the side I would certainly be on.
All right, here on the drive-through, I'm Tony T with Dana Lane. A lot more free picks coming as we take a look at the games here that will be going off later tonight. All right, let's continue. More picks coming up, and let's welcome to the show. You can Chris Ruffalo. You can listen and watch him in the morning show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time with Mitch and company. Chris, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you guys doing?
Oh, can't complain. I know you're gonna keep an eye. You're gonna look here at this Tigers and Brewers game. We're getting away from the NL West, huh?
Yeah, I'm a bit jet lagged from flying over and coming back to the East Coast, but yeah, I mean, this line baffled me this morning when we covered it on the live show, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, why we're giving up a $1.45 with the Brewers with Adrian Hauser on the mound? The only angle I'm seeing is that Spencer Turnbull for the Tigers walked and gave up 5 apiece in 4.1 innings last time out. Otherwise, I mean, Turnbull hasn't given up more than 3 runs in any of his starts prior to that, and Adrian Hauser, well, he gave up at least 3 runs in each of his last 5 starts. 4 or more in 4 of those 5 starts, 20 total runs in 27 innings. I mean, both of these teams are within 2 games of a wild card spot. They're both 5-5 in their last 10, but the difference for me is, and I said this a couple nights ago when we were talking about the San Francisco Giants and the Arizona Diamondbacks. For the Giants being a 5-5 team, it didn't feel like they were a 5-5 team. It felt like a team that was playing 700-800 ball over their last 10 games. And I think it's the same thing with the Tigers. I mean, maybe it's because there were a lack of expectations coming into the season for this team that many expected them to finish maybe with playing 300 ball at best. I mean, I don't want off on a tangent, but I mean, either way, I think the Tigers are hitting 261 at home. Brewers are hitting 216 on the road, and with a pitching advantage for Detroit, I see this game as a coin flip, and getting plus 135 with the Tigers sounds good to me. So give me Detroit.
Yeah, Dana, you look at this Milwaukee lineup hitting only 207 against right-handers. Hauser in his past 5 games given 20 earned runs in 26 innings. Do you see something fishy with this line also?
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't like either one of these pitchers. We saw them go against each other last Wednesday. They were both horrible. This is a Brewers team that has been either at 500 or at least 4 games under, somewhere in between there all season long. I never know what I'm going to get out of Milwaukee. I never know, is this the game that the big guys are going to start breaking out and start maybe even forcing themselves towards the 250 mark even. I mean, I'm not even talking about 280, 290, which they should be at. I mean, their big hitters in their lineup are barely over 200, and I don't know. I mean, I know that Braun can hit. I know Yelich can hit. We know that. I've seen Smoke hit, although I've seen him strike out 1,000 times as well. I know that there's potential in this, but just when you start to have some feeling about Milwaukee, some positive feelings towards them, they absolutely fall apart. And they're never a team that you can lean on or lean against. But for me in this, when I saw Hauser and Turnbull absolutely just stink up the joint, you might as well take the plus money with this because you have a great chance. The Tigers started the season 4-10 at home. They've won 5 straight games at home. All 5 wins have been against quality opponents, and they play a Brewers team that is just so up and down, and you have no idea where they're at and whether or not they're. I'm not laying $1.45 with this team that I couldn't tell you what their identity is. So they're mostly a go against for me because I still have no idea who the Brewers are.
Chris, you talk about the Tigers that you mentioned they're hitting. You look at the numbers; they're above average in the top half of the league in both runs and run production and team batting. Who would thought we'd be saying this with the Tigers and Brewers? Tigers are a much better hitting team.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you give me 100 people, I want to see a show of hands, I'd probably say less than 10 of people who envision this for the Tigers coming into the season. But it's like I said last time we were talking about the Tigers, they still have a lot of young pieces. They've got Candelario, they've got Jacoby Jones, they've got Nico Goodrum, guys that can produce hits when they have to produce. Miguel Cabrera, unfortunately, he is getting up there. He's going into the twilight of his career, but he's shown that he can still produce as well. I mean, we're not going to see this team put up like Dodger-like numbers when the Dodgers are going on that 43-9 run, but they're still going to be able to play 500 ball consistently if they're going to keep producing like this. I mean, this is still a team that knows what they're doing. The pitching staff needs to get better, but if the offense can produce, they can at least give themselves a shot.
No fans in the stands. Do you think the impact of that is more so in the later innings when there's a lot of pressure, to close out games for the opponent? Or if they have a runner on base, late inning situations. I'll go to Dana first on that.
It's really hard to tell. I mean, I kind of thought about this a couple times back, 100 years ago when I used to play baseball with my, my single leather mitt and. But I don't know, Tony. I was on the field and I kind of didn't hear the fans, and we, baseball was very serious back in New York, and the only thing you heard once in a while is the mom you didn't really want to hear from, but other than that, you were so focused on what was going on in the field, and look, the fans aren't there to push for or against you, but you're still hearing a lot of chirping from the dugouts. That creates a different kind of feeling inside. And we've seen it a lot of times that there's been some, dust-ups on the field that may not have been if the fans would have drowned some of that chirping out. So I don't think it really has that big of a deal. I think you'd actually have to ask the players on an individual basis. But, certainly there's an element where players, we see this in the NBA where you can't really factor in home field advantage, home ice advantage in the NHL. But for the most part, I think these are professional athletes that still have people to impress, whether it's at home, on TV, or in the dugout. It may be a little bit to that, but I don't think it's as much of a factor as you might think.
Chris, you think the fans least amount of impact in baseball than the other major sports?
Yeah, I was actually going to make that point. I think, you take your basketballs, whether it be professional or collegiate, same thing with football and even hockey. Those 3 sports, I think, have the most weight for fan involvement and for the tangible effect that having fans in the stands has. Baseball, I mean, Dana hit it right on the head. I think that it's more situational pressure. I think, you have a reliever that's going to come in with the bases loaded and one out in a one-run game in like the bottom of the eighth. He's still going to feel the same pressure whether there's fans in the stands or not. I think it's just going to be as to whether or not, the fans are going to get in his head. But I mean, they're still professionals. I mean, a lot of these guys tend to drown that out, have that ability to drown that out. I tend to think that that's the case, but that's where the human element comes into it. These are still people at the end of the day,
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Of course, the NBA, where you have the referees within arm's distance of some of the fans, I'm surprised how they let the fans that close to some of these refs. It's amazing they allow that. All right, here on the drive-thru with Dana and Chris Ruffalo. Chris, I know you're having a great year. Go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing about that. Just because the actual game may not be impacted by fans, keep in mind going on the road is a whole process. And it is still, everything else is still kind of the same. So going on the road, there is still a little bit of that fatigue factor that you don't have staying at home. So even though you might, some guys think, well, it's non-existent now. No, it's not non-existent, because the only thing that's different is the fans not being in the stands. And I don't think that's as much of a factor as people might think. But the process of going on the road is still there, and you still can factor that in handicapping.
Absolutely. Here, Dana Lane joined me here with Chris Ruffalo. Chris, I know you're having a fantastic year in Major League Baseball. I looked at the numbers, document over 700 units of profit. What do you got going on right now with Pig Dogs?
Well, our morning show gag is that a lot of my stuff is food related. I had Taco Tuesday today as my special, but my Tuesday dinner special, my late special, I got two of my top plays in MLB. They're still on the board that are going to be kicking off at about 7:00, and I have a side and a total play in the Vegas and Dallas game on the ice tonight. 4 plays for $24.95.
All right, guys, so check out Chris Ruffalo over at Pick Dogs. Pick up one of his package. Chris, it's always great having your show. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Gentlemen, have a good night. Thank you.
All right, thanks, back here on the drive-thru with Chris Ruffalo, who just joined us here. You can listen to him every morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, over on the Pick Dogs and, of course, Sports Chat Place YouTube channel. All right, Dana, we continue here. Wanted to get your thoughts here on this game that's about to start here. White Sox and Pirates. I know you're very close to the Pirates team. I know you spent some time up there. You're shaking your head. You're probably a little disappointed.
It's just embarrassing, Tony.
Yeah,
it's just embarrassing. I listen. I go into every year, and this is the only sport where it's like this. I go into every season with every other sport, except maybe the NBA, and that's because of just front office decisions rather than, the Wizards just being horrible all the time. But this is the only sport where I can guarantee that the Pirates will not be there at the end. And I just don't understand how baseball can sell you on everybody's got a chance every single year, and they don't have a chance. And the Pirates make it even worse on themselves because they consistently make bad choices. Josh Bell, absolute superstar. What are we talking about this year? Well, who's going to take Josh Bell? Because we're certainly not going to re-sign Josh Bell. And it's just, it's constantly turning the soil over and replanting every 3 or 4 years. But I will say this with the Pirates. You've seen Kansas City go to the World Series twice. They won it once. You've seen Tampa Bay win consistently. You've seen Oakland win consistently. So, yeah, I would love to be one of those teams that goes out and has a $200 million payroll. But on the flip side of that, you simply have to be better in your front office. You simply have to make better choices. You cannot be giving up, handing Tampa Bay to your betters, in Glasnow, who absolutely went to Tampa Bay and was, fantastic all of a sudden. He was Cy Young, and then get nothing in return. I mean, Chris Archer has been absolutely, and as much as I like Chris, and this isn't personal because Chris is a great guy, but he's giving 0 to the Pirates. Keona Kella, 0 to the Pirates. And these are the choices that they are making, and they're not just getting a few good guys back. They're getting 0 in a lot of cases. They got lucky with the McCutchen trade, getting Reynolds back. They got lucky. There is no way in the world they thought that guy was going to be, battling for the hitting title last year, which he did. And then he started off slow again this season. You look at the Pirates in this, and I do like playing the Pirates, but I only like getting to 1.5 because I do know this. I know the makeup of this team. I know the guys in that clubhouse. They are not quitters. Joe Musgrove, no matter how bad his stats are, he is a guy that can come up with a 6-7 inning effort because he does have good stuff. He's had injury issues in the past. It takes him a while to, come back and be the pitcher that everybody thought he was going to be. But, there was some points last year. I've seen Joe pitch live many times. I was in Washington last year and watched him pitch. I was in San Diego and watched him pitch last year. The guy's got good stuff. And now we're up against, the White Sox, and this looks like an easy play for most people. But, going with Dylan Cease isn't exactly where I want to be either. I think his K rate has dropped from almost 10 a game to 6 a game this year. It's the third largest decrease in Major League Baseball. So I do think the Pirates will be able to put the ball in play against Dylan Cease. And so it comes down to, Tony, in this game, do I believe in Joe Musgrove? Yes, I do believe in Joe Musgrove, but I got to take that 1.5, and that's my lean. It's not an official play, but that's my lean. The Pirates bullpen as well, which is huge when you're not getting good starting pitching. Earlier in the year, they were an absolute go against late. They were, picking guys out from not only alternative sites, they were taking guys from alternative sites to come in. But now they've settled down over the last 19 games. Their bullpen is 2.74. So that's something I can live with if the starter is just okay. And I think Musgrove is going to be okay in this one.
All right, it's Dana Lane, #1 at Pig Dogs Documented. Check them out over at the premium area. All right, more fix coming up throughout the show. We'll have a lot more. And right now, let's welcome to the show El Nino's. El Nino's also on the positive side in Major League Baseball. El, how you doing this evening out there?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, well, I can't complain, El. I know you follow Major League Baseball very closely, and I know this is your time of the year.
Yeah, it's unfortunately a short season for us this year, but we got to make the most of it. Still a few games left, and we still got our playoffs. So, yeah, still quite a bit of money to be made there. All
right, I know you're going to be looking here at a late game tonight, and, of course, it's this one involving Seattle and San Francisco. Listed Newsom and Webb here, and Webb a big favorite, $1.60, $1.65 in some places. Total sits here at 9.
Yeah, Seattle's coming into this one on a 6-game winning streak. Newsom's off to a pretty good start in the MLB. He's given up a home run in each of his starts, 2 starts so far this year. But that's pretty much all he's given up, just 3 hits to each team and actually 0 walks against them either, too. So, and that was also against 2 of the best lineups in the league in the Dodgers and Padres. He lasted 3 innings in his debut and 4 in his second start. So I'm hoping to get a solid 5th inning out of him tonight. Webb, he's walked a few batters, and that can be a problem against this lineup. Quickly turn into runners in scoring position, as Seattle has the 2nd most stolen bases in the league at 39, which is more than twice as much than the Giants have so far. The Giants on a 3-game win streak of their own, and they've gone 6-4 in their last 10, but 5 of those wins are against the Diamondbacks, which is probably like the coldest team in the league right now. And Webb, he was off to a good start this season, but he's given up at least 1 run in each of his starts, and 9 runs in his last 2. And while I don't like turning a plus into a minus, I don't mind like the little minus 105 here to get that half run in the first 5 again. So I'm splitting my bet again, taking the Mariners plus the half run in the first 5 at minus 105, and also taking them on the full game money line at around plus 150.
Dana, Giants have really come through for bettors this year, but you're looking at Webb here and having to lay $1.60, even $1.65 in some places.
Yeah, I complete with Al on this. I don't want anything to do with Logan Webb. Like he said, Webb's allowed 9 earned runs in his last 9 innings pitched. Now, outside of Seattle starting 8-19, they're actually 11-3 since that point, which is the best record in baseball. Now, granted, 7 of those were against the Rangers, and they have a 6-game winning streak currently. But there is nothing about Logan Webb I want to be involved in. Now, I'm not as brave as Al for sure. I want to get that 1.5. I'm laying a little bit more than what I would like to, but that's the great thing when you build a bankroll. That when you build a bankroll, that allows you to lay a little bit more with games that you may not early in the season until that bankroll gets built. So I have no problem laying $1.45. I'll take the 1.5, and I think they got the better team anyway.
All right,
at
Dana
this
Lane
point.
And El Nino's joining me here on the drive-through. El, what do you got going over on Pick Dogs today? A lot of action today. We got NBA, NHL, and of course, Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I skipped on the NHL tonight, but I do have 2 plays in the MLB and 1 in the NBA left. So if you want to check out, I have a 3-pack with all 3 of those. And yeah, already got a couple games out for tomorrow, and lots looking into the MLB right after the show. So yeah.
All right, El. Great having you on the show. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
All right, thanks again for having me. See you guys.
All right, El Nino's here. I'm back with Dana Lane. Dana, let's take a look here at this NL West encounter between the Dodgers and D-backs. Walker Buehler on the hill. LA laying about 230 against Luke Weaver. Total sits here at 9.5. One thing with Buehler, I prefer him more at home. He just seems to be more in command of his pitches, a lot more comfortable on the Dodger Stadium mound. I don't really know if I can trust him that much on the road, especially in this price range. Of course, Luke Weaver throwing for Arizona. You always with Arizona, this is a team that really struggles for runs. Sometimes I look for the under when you got in a situation like this. But how do you see this one with the Dodgers and D-backs?
This is just a simple case of the not-so-good-looking girl in high school wishing they were the cheerleader. I mean, this is what the Arizona Diamondbacks have wanted to be for years. I mean, and the Dodgers constantly have their number. I agree with Buehler for sure, but do I want anything to do with the Diamondbacks that clearly have said, we're done with this year. We're going to play hard. We're going to try to win ball games, but we're clearly not focused on the postseason. We're focused on 2021. The Diamondbacks were 4 for 51 on their last road trip, so even when they do get runners on, I can never count them to get a big hit. I'm not going to be involved in this game, but I mean, honestly, again, we're here to. You have to, as bettors, and I know we got to get going, but as bettors, you have to realize you're here to build bankroll. And that doesn't always mean focusing on winning each individual game. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but take, for instance, tonight, you're getting 1.5 plus 140 with the Diamondbacks. And if you followed me all year and you've been able to build a bankroll, that's a chance that you're going to take because, the Diamondbacks have at least once beaten the Dodgers this year, and that was at a decent plus price. So, that would be the only side I would be on. I wouldn't feel comfortable laying 1.5 with the Dodgers, especially after what I just saw against Colorado. I don't know where their mindset is. I can't believe that they would be focused on this series at a team that they usually mop the floor up with quite easily. So I would look to Arizona here if I had to play this game. But believe me, I don't want anything to do with this game and probably this series.
Yeah, really tough here to back the Diamondbacks lineup, and of course, I'm not a big fan of Walker Buehler away from Dodger Stadium. You're listening to and watching the drive-through. More picks coming, guys. Daily at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Let's bring in our next capper. You'll find him over at Pick Dogs, and we'll welcome to the show Shane MICKLE. Shane, how are things going for today?
Good. How are you guys?
Hey, can't complain. Things are going good. The weather out here is extremely hot on the West Coast. How's it up there in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's 50, and we're supposed to get rain for about the next 3 days here in Minnesota, so not great.
Speaking of Minnesota, what's your thoughts on the Twins?
Yeah, their offense, they got Donaldson back. The offense is starting to click a little bit again, and hopefully we get hot in time for the playoffs because I would like to see a World Series here at some point for them.
Yeah, that'd be nice for that. All right, we're going to take a look here at this Marlins and Braves game. And I wanted to set it up for you here. This one will be starting at the top of the hour, 7:10 Eastern time. The Sixto Sanchez, who's been impressive the last 2 starts against Wright, who has been a mess. but it's Atlanta favored in this one about $1.16. Total sits at 9.5.
Yeah, the last time, it might have been the last time I was on the show, but the last time that Sanchez started, we went with him. He had another great outing. He didn't get run support. This game, I think Sanchez can have another great outing, but he's going to get the run support. Kyle Wright hasn't had a start since the 14th of August, and in that start against the Marlins, he went 2 innings and walked 6 batters. They set him down for a little bit, and I don't think the sit-down is going to help him at all. I see a lot of runs coming for the Marlins in this game.
All right, we got Shane MICKLE here join us. Danny, looking at this right, it's been real difficult for him this year. I think he's 25 earned runs in his 21 and third innings. It's been a difficult time for this righty. His walk rate 18%. It's been crushed by the home run ball, and of course you got a youngster here on the mound in Sixto Sanchez.
Well, he's been having problems with the home run ball simply because he gets behind in the count, and he's got to come in with fastballs, or he wants to get even with the count. I mean, this is a guy that has to, if there's ever a pitcher that has to get ahead in the count early, I mean, it is him for sure. And, for the Braves, let's see what we get out of them, because, of course, Max Fried, who is probably their best pitcher, not probably, he is their best pitcher, went on the IL today as well. So they are in desperate need of starting pitching. I know Sanchez is highly touted. He came over in the Real Muto trade. Everybody really likes him, likes his arm. He was a top prospect in the Phillies organization. I'm going to stay away from this because there's too many other odds other than getting involved in a play. So this is a no play for me.
All right, Shane MICKLE, number 1 in the NBA, documented over at Pig Dog. Shane, what do you got going here over at the site?
Yeah, we got a 3-pack tonight that's going to kick off in about a couple minutes. It's got 1 NHL, 1 MLB, 1 NBA. And I did just lower the price of my rest of the season for the NBA package for $99.
All right, so check out Shane MICKLE over at Pig Dogs Premium, and of course, number 1 document in the NBA. You're really seeing it this season. What's been hitting for you?
Totals. I've locked in on the totals, and I guess I've been hitting them, so it's been good.
All right, very good. All right, Shane, it's always great having your show. Have a great day. Good night. Continue that profit, and we'll talk to you in the next appearance.
Sounds good. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. All right, back here on the drive-through, joined by Dana Lane. We'll have some more picks coming up for you in a second. I want to get your thoughts here, Dana, on this one. To me, this was the toughest game on the board to cap. The Angels and Rangers. Check it was Heaney on the mound for the Angels, and of course for Texas, Lance Lynn. And we see the Angels laying $1.26, total 8. I know Lynn's been a little rocky last start, but Heaney put up some good numbers. But man, it's tough to lay. It's tough to lay the Angels on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I getting the plus money with the run line here, so that would be my lean if I was to put it up on the website. But the Rangers have lost 6 straight games. They've lost 18 of the last 24, going back to the 16th of August. 13-27 is the franchise's worst record in 40 years. So even though Lynn is the attractive option in this matchup, which the bettors, I'm looking at it right now, I mean, the percentages of wagers are certainly on the Texas side. But, hey, at 17-25, the Angels are only 4.5 out of the postseason race. So, they're probably, they have not given up. And so I think there is a psychological difference between the two. And if I'm getting plus money with a team that probably still thinks they're in the race, I think that's my side.
All right, Dana Lane here on the drive-through. You'll find him over at Pick Dogs Premium, number 1 documented in Major League Baseball. All right, now it's time for my pick. You got a little earlier when we talked about this game. I brought it up. It was the game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to lay the 2.5, and I think it'll be 3 by kickoff. I'm really a big fan of Mike Zimmer. His spread record is fantastic. He gets the Packers open this season. It's not sitting well with him right now that he lost 2 games to Green Bay last year. There's some concern for the health of the Packers' right side of the offensive line, and I think this is a spot where Dalvin Cook can shine, open up play action to Thielen and, of course, rookie Justin Jefferson. Tight end position is very strong for Minnesota, and they're healthy. Again, they start the season healthy. Their defense starts the season healthy. We know the pass rush is going to be there. Even though the fans aren't going to be there, I still think the Vikings can create enough pressure on Aaron Rodgers in this spot. And, of course, Zimmer just contractually got his contract extended 3 more years. I will take Minnesota minus the 2.5. All right, Dana, I just want to get your final thoughts here as we're getting ready here for a night of action.
My final thought, Tony, is no matter how much I have to make sure that I prep for this show, never once did it occur to me that I have to be prepped for the Vikings and the Packers. And I will leave this show unhappy with myself, and I will consider my effort a failure today for it.
No, not so. I really wanted to talk about that game myself. Actually, I wasn't looking for an in-depth handicap from me. I just wanted to see if you knew what, just throw something at me, because this is the game that I really. When I looked at the NFL card, I looked at this one and said, man, this is the game that I really want to sink my teeth into, because I remember, the Packers, when they went through in the NFC Championship game. Of course, Minnesota here with Zimmer trying to get this team off to a good start, losing both. I know in these divisional games, when you lose 2 to a rival like this, it just eats you in the offseason.
Well, you know what? The Redskins have been trying to beat the Cowboys for years, too, and they have gone into plenty of seasons with their fingers crossed that this was going to be the year that they were going to beat Dallas. And I know, Daniel Snyder would love nothing more than to hand it to Jerry Jones, but that certainly hasn't worked out. And I know we're talking about teams on different levels, but, again, we have to be careful. And your logic is spot on this, too. I mean, even the psychology aspect of it as well. But we also have to be careful that we don't put too much emphasis on the revenge factor or what should be or what a team wants to do, because as soon as that ball is kicked off, what Coach A or Coach B wants to do has nothing to do with what's going to happen.
Absolutely. It's all about them executing on the field. Of course, you got that rookie in there at the wideout position for the Vikings. Vikings really needed help at the receiver position. All right, that'll do it for tonight's show. I'd like to thank Dana as always. Remember, in the morning show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Mitch and company will break down the card for you. Then we'll be back tomorrow here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. For Dana Lane, I'm Tony T. We'll bring the Cappers on, and David Wade, goodbye, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.